Hi, Henrik. You can start. I can perfectly see your slides now. You can start your presentation. Good luck. Stage is all yours now.
Okay, super. Thank you very much for your introduction. So, building resilience with IoT security. So first, then, okay, why should you talk to me or listen to Cisco? So I just want to start with this slide from Forrester Wave, where they name Cisco as a leader in industrial control systems, security solutions. So hopefully that will make you value our opinions. Another good reasons to be listening into this session is of course the history of a lot of attacks towards industries, which has costed a lot of money for those companies that have been affected by this. And we are now even worse situation with the war in Ukraine, where the European countries or EU put sanctions on Russia, especially on finance, but also on the energy sector. So we are seeing attacks on energy infrastructure from Russia. So this is really a hot topic. So Cisco knows its business with this. We are supporting Ukraine a lot with cybersecurity, including their grid, and we can see that the history of attacks here is just increasing all the time. So just a little bit to set the scene, where are we or coming from? And so before industrial automation systems, they were built as standalone system. You would have automation, but it would be local. So you would have some control part that controls a factory or some manufacturing process, or some electricity grid, or hospital equipment, or what have you. But this was isolated, and that meant that those that designed this, they didn't need to bother that much about security. They just could make sure that the functionality of the system, what it was supposed to deliver, that is working as it should. What's happening now, driven by economics, really, that digitalization makes economic sense. So if we take I start a little bit with the grids, like the smart grids. We have electrical cars. We're putting solar panels on our houses. So you need to have this smart grid, and smart grid means that you're opening it up for communication to control the grid. In the same thing in the industry with the Industry 4.0, you have much more integrated supply chains. So different manufacturing companies are interacting, and they are exchanging information. So we are opening up everything here. So this from previous situation where you had the automation system kind of naturally protected because they were within their own zone. We now have a system where everything is connected in one way or another. And a big challenge is, of course, that we still have a lot of those older systems that has kind of been moved into this new environment, and then suddenly they are unprotected because in this new environment. And this is a huge challenge. Another huge challenge here is, of course, also this with where do you have IT and IT security competence, and where do we have operations technology, kind of factory production knowledge? That these are a little bit of different worlds. So kind of the first stab on this, on how to build this, when you're starting to interconnect the information technology part with the operations technology part, is okay, let's just connect them and put a firewall in between to make sure that you don't get any strange thing passing between these parts. And as everyone with IT knowledge knows, a firewall is not enough nowadays, because as you are opening up, that you have a system down here that needs to be connected to a supplier or to their internet, there will be communication here, and you will be able then to put in false information that the firewall will not be able to detect. And above all, the firewall is a north to south protection. If you have a problem within your operations technology system that's starting to spread from one part to another here, the firewall does not have any visibility of that. It does not see what we call east-west traffic. The firewall only sees north-south. So this was a good start, but it's definitely not enough today. So what where we need to do is to get this visibility, and you need to have the visibility using different some glasses. You have from a cybersecurity skills that's mostly coming from the IT department or the security department. There you know about how building networks in a larger scale with the hygiene of to put in security policies. They are normally quite good at detecting anomalies and remediate this. Whereas on operations technology part, it's the industrial process that is the key thing, and taking care of more operational events and configuration of equipment. Also, it's important to understand that there are different drivers here, that from a cybersecurity part, it's okay if a PC behaves strangely, you just shut it down. But on the industrial side, you can't just shut down a manufacturing unit because you have a suspicion, because it costs so much to shut down the production environment. So, so the important here is that these two kind of knowledge bases, that those professionals understand each other, understand the different drivers, but also understands how they can use each other with a special competence that they do have. So me being more from the IT side, I think that it's very important that we do understand the operations technology behaviors. That from an IT perspective, it's perfectly normal that most of the equipment would go to the internet. Like me now making this presentation for now, of course, Cisco IT is not shutting down my PC because it's accessing internet. Whereas if you are on the operations side, why would a car painting robot be sending stuff to the internet? Most probably that's something wrong. And if it does, you need to know that it's exactly what the access it has that it's supposed to do. We still have a lot of islands, unconnected networks. So having a top-down view when correlating different issues is a challenge. And many times you are doing things like an IT professional would find very strange that you're reusing network spaces, and then you have issues with, okay, how do I know in which you're using network address, reusing network addresses in different segments, etc. So it gets messy, but this is the standard setup in many cases. So you need to go through this. Another huge problem, at least from an IT perspective, is that we are used to be able to manage our devices. If there are patches coming up for Windows, then we just patch it, and that's fine. Whereas in manufacturing, you often buy the complete system, including operating system, and you don't have access to work on that level in system because you're using it's more like a black box, at least from an IT perspective. And this means that the surrounding network needs to take much more security measures than we would need to do for a PC, where we can make sure that it's updated with the latest operation system and with the operated endpoint detection response software. But another thing that for the IT people is a bit shocking is that, okay, the problem, how can we find the maintenance windows to do this work that we need to do? And this comes back to this, that from IT security perspective, security is more important than availability, but from an operations technology, availability in most cases is more important than security. And I've been into it a little bit more this with quarantine. If an IT guy finds a suspicious device, you put it in quarantine, but you can't really do that when it comes to operations technology. Be really sure that you have a problem with it before you actually do and put it in quarantine and stops production basically. So yeah, problems are heaping up because of the drivers to make it more and more efficient. Because that's a huge driver in operations technology in the industries to make things more efficient. Of course, you use the tools. One thing that has been a little bit surprising me is the move to cloud. I had expected that most manufacturing industries would have things more local because of thinking that would be more have better availability, etc. But what has happened is that we have realized that you have better availability on the cloud than you have on your own managed data center. As long as you have redundancy in your communication pipes towards the cloud will have much higher availability percentage than an own operated data center. Not all your data center owners might agree to this, but I think you need to face the facts. So this is happening. So we are connecting our manufacturing plants to the cloud, which open up to more security things as well, because the cloud as such, they do not secure your applications. You need to make sure that you secure your applications. Just by the cloud will deliver the kind of storage, the compute, etc. But you own the security. But they will make sure that you have high availability, that security is your responsibility. And when it comes down to industrial IT, I've been touching a little bit with this, with Industry 4.0. Everything is interconnected. You can't really say that, no, this is on its own, so it won't, an attack in this part will not affect the next robot. No, you can't say that anymore. It's all interconnected. And then with the mobility, you have the people, your own people going out doing service and stuff, but you also have third parties coming in doing service. You have people working remotely that needs to access your systems, etc. So we are opening up a lot more kind of surfaces for attack. In the IT part, we've been talking about zero trust for quite some years. And I think we will. This is a really useful approach also for the industry. And when Cisco talks about zero trust for industrial workplaces, with talk about visibility, segmentation, and containment. So the first, and just to go back a little bit, what is zero trust? So zero trust is basically that this shift from the old paradigm where you thought that if something was inside your network, then you trusted it implicitly. Everything is on that was on the inside, you could trust. But as hopefully as shown earlier, that is not the case anymore, because you have so many openings up into your own networks. And so this with the old perimeter that you said that as long as I had a nice firewall around me, then I was safe. That does not apply anymore. You have so many openings into your network. So you need to apply this with zero trust. And with zero trust, you mean that you don't trust anyone. So you always say that, no, you shouldn't get access to anything unless we trust you. So you start with establishing trust. And the good thing to start with that is, of course, the visibility, to make sure that this control system is actually behaving like a control system, that is sending messages that make sense, that it's not doing anything else. So with that visibility, you can identify which kind of endpoint it is. And okay, so now you know what it is, but okay, that's not enough. Then you need to make sure that it can only communicate with those parts that it should. Then you come into the segmentation. And talking about resilience here as well, is that having segments that perhaps before you had a physical segment, you could, but now as you need to allow some communication, you need to put out a logical segmentations. That you have one network, but then you put in logical segments wherein it's okay to communicate, and then you have strict control on when you communicate between the different segments. And then so this is a little bit kind of the before stuff, before being attacked. You make sure that you have complete control of what you have in your network. You make sure that you put them in the segment where they should be. And then you get into, okay, now I'm under attack. I have gotten an infection. Okay, you need to automate this as well for the containment to work. But here, there is a huge difference in how the pure IT guys will resonate, that they will be better safe than sorry. They will put it in containment, whereas from operations point of view, you think on the other way around. I don't want to disturb my production unless it's completely necessary. So that would be still you want to do containment if you do have a serious problem, but most probably you will be more hesitant to do this. So how can we get into this with more resilience? So this is a little bit summary slide. So what you need to do then is start with asset discovery. In most cases in industry, you won't know what is connected. You would have an idea of what is connected, but you wouldn't know it. So jumping into step 2 here, network segmentation, without having done the first part, asset discovery, that will fail. So start with asset discovery, make sure that you put in a system that can listen and see, okay, what is really connected here. And Cisco Cyber Vision is an excellent tool to really find out exactly what is, and as it kind of understands the different control protocols, it's very good at really identifying exactly what kind of controller it is or what kind of control equipment it is. So you get this really nice map and list of what do you have out there. And once you have that, then you need to apply a little bit of human intelligence. You can't get around that in spite of the previous AI presentation, and say, okay, so this control system, it should be allowed to speak freely to this unit that it's controlling. It should be able to be updated from internet with new software. Perhaps it needs new configuration. It needs to report production statistics. So that then you can define the segmentation and what kind of what you open up for kind of information between different segments. And in many cases, you would do this in a little bit step-by-step fashion. So you start with a kind of more coarse segmentation, and then you make it step-by-step more granular. And this is an extremely important part when it comes to resilience, because if you have a reasonably granular segmentation, then when you get hit, and do note that I say when, not if, because you will be hit. When you then get hit, it's contained. So the rest of your operation can continue to work. But having so this is a very important part in building resilience, is doing this kind of segmentations. Because many of the catastrophic examples that I started off with was because of what we call in IT a flat network. You allow communication too widely, and then you are not containing the attack. You let it spread. So this is a really key part to do in the right way. And so, okay, you start up with the asset discovery using Cisco Cyber Vision. You get into the network segmentation, where you would use Cisco network access control to make sure that you put it into the right segments. And now you have a robustness. You have some resilience by doing these steps. And the next step is really to start, okay, be monitoring this. And then you can use the kind of same setup as you did for asset discovery. So you continue using Cisco Cyber Vision, but now you use it to see, okay, but now this unit is starting to communicate in a very weird way. Why should my industrial control system start sending a lot of messages to a server in Russia? No, doesn't make sense. Or even this, it could also be that you have one of your industrial control systems in a factory in Brazil starting to interact with a factory in Malaysia. But no, that shouldn't happen. And even if the segmentation has stopped that, you should also see that now they are trying to do something that they are not supposed to try. And then so this is all about getting into abnormal behaviors. And then it's really crucial to have this combination of IT and OT knowledge, because this is really mixed with the patterns in the IT traffic, but also be able to look into deeper into what kind of control system traffic is happening. You can take really good decisions here. And in these systems, we are basing this on machine learning. So the system that they kind of build a map and learn how is the normal behavior, and then they can detect the abnormal. Okay, but so next step, okay, what do I do about this? If I have realized that this part of my system is behaving weirdly, and then you come into this with the secure operations center. And there it's also very important that you take this both from an information technology and operations technology aspect, so you kind of see both worlds here, because that is when you can be more efficient towards the attackers. Because the attackers, they will for sure try to use if you have let's say a communications gap between your IT organization and your OT organization, they will try to exploit that. You might have your technician's laptop is controlled by the IT department, but if you get then attacked there and they manage to install malware on that laptop, and then you start you connect it to your industrial control system to do some work there, and then it can spread from the IT part to the operations technology part. And you need to coordinate this. So when you get indications that something has happened in the IT part, and you need to, okay, so this system here, it has been communicated that you need to follow up. Has something strange happened on the OT side, and vice versa. So this with integrating the SOC here, and there are many of our customers they're using Cisco Secure X to build this holistic picture of their whole network. I've been speaking a little bit generically here, but of course, every different industry has its own challenges and own needs. So to support different industries, what we've done is that we've done Cisco validated designs. So if you go into cisco.com, and you will be able to find these CVDs or Cisco validated designs. You can just go on and Google for them, and you can get excellent blueprints for the different industries, and within the different industries you get different use cases. So I think this is an extremely good source of knowledge. So download these for that are relevant for your industry and use them. And in this, you can also see all these integrations that's needed between the Cisco Cyber Vision, Cisco IT, and all the different systems. And this is just picking some of the different integrations that we have down here. So I wanted to leave some time for Q&A as well. So if you have any questions, please put them into the Q&A field or into the chat window.
Hi, Henrik.
Hi.
Thank you so much for your informative session. And I personally enjoyed it so much. And thank you so much for your time and effort you took to share your expertise with us. And I'll request the audience that if they're having any questions regarding your presentation, they can ask in the chat or in the QA session. Okay.